back to this rant about the parallels between romantic or even friendship relationships. By the way, friendships follow the same arc. Mentorships follow the same arc. This is sort of wired into our DNA. It's the way that we dance with each other, essentially, and figuring out, is this the right dance for me? Is this, all that kind of thing. And for recoupling, and in fact, this was an exercise, and I share this with you with her permission. Louise used to walk couples through this exercise when she did couples counseling back in the 90s. And it was asking the person who's the initiator, the person who is moving away from the relationship, because typically the left behind partner is in shock and either very angry or very frightened, is asking the initiator, can you remember why and how you first fell in love with the other person? And then asking that person to describe the scene, the moment. Now, what that does, when you ask, what did it look like? What did it smell like? What did it taste like? What did you hear? What did you feel? When those questions are asked, that pretty much forces the unconscious mind to let go of that memory, to release it into the conscious mind. And so the initiator, if it's successful, now most initiators, if they're already way down the road and they just are, their mind is set on divorce or whatever, most initiators will then just say, no, I'm not going to go there. But many will remember that, and it provides them with an opportunity to break that cycle, to break the process, and basically kind of fall in love again. And to me, this is what Bernie Sanders is doing to the Democratic Party. He's saying to the Democratic Party, maybe as that guide, as Diane Vaughn's guide, although the analogy is imperfect, but I think it's damn close. And I would love to get your thoughts on this. Have you experienced in your life, first of all, these cycles that relationships go through? I think they're universal. And secondly, have you experienced them politically? And third, where do you think this is all going? And which brings us back to Bernie, because Bernie reminds us, at least those of us who call ourselves Democrats or feel an affiliation with the Democratic Party, why we fell in love with the Democratic Party in the first place. It's because of Social Security. It's because of Medicare. It's because of unemployment. It's because of a strong middle class. It's because of strong infrastructure. It's because, families could work because there was, function because there was enough money, with even a single wage earner could support a family. We had good manufacturing in this country. All these things, literally the Democratic Party brought us. And I think over the last, basically since the Clinton presidency, when Bill Clinton declared, the end of welfare as we know it and began deconstructing along with Newt Gingrich, they were happy buddies in this, deconstructing parts of both the New Deal and the Great Society, that a lot of people essentially fell out of love with the Democratic Party. And then Barack Obama with his Hope and Change campaign, we came back. Oh, yeah, okay. But it was that Rorschach test. It was that infatuation thing. Now, the thing about Bernie is, to use the language of relationships for this metaphor, is that I'm not infatuated with Bernie at all. I'm in love with Bernie because I know him. I know the areas where I disagree with Bernie. I know the areas that I wish he would change. There's very few and very small. And I can, but I also, have a close to 20-year history with Bernie. Louise and I moved to Vermont in 1996. Yeah, it's 19 years since the first time I met Bernie Sanders and shook his hand at a $5 for Bernie hot dog and beer thing that was down on the waterfront in Burlington, as I recall, that we just stumbled into because we were out taking a walk. Which raises a whole nother question, which I think is particularly fascinating, which is if a whole bunch of us fall in love with Bernie, or have been in love with Bernie all along, because it's a deep and long-lasting and mature relationship now. It's not just an infatuation. And Bernie gets blown out by Hillary Clinton or some other candidate, and he drops out of the race. How many of us are going to become spurned lovers, as it were, the circular firing squad, the anger, versus how many of us are going to behave in a more mature is not quite the right word, but I lack a better one for it, pragmatic, perhaps, way, and say, well, okay, Bernie's not the candidate, but hey, any Democrat, Joe Manchin, any Democrat is going to be better than Scott Walker or Jeb Bush. It's just that simple, right? So we have this relationship with the Democratic Party. We have this relationship with, say, Hillary Clinton or whoever. And, it wasn't the person that we love. And we can love them when we're with them. What's the old Stephen Stills song? Love the one when you can't be with the one you love the one you're with. So, when we can't talk to Bernie on the radio and we can't listen, the 6 days out of 7 on the week, when we're not hanging out with Bernie, who we really love, can we also love Hillary Clinton or Martin O'Malley or whoever else? Whoever else ultimately ends up being the nominee of the party. In a way, it's a question, and it is possible to have multiple relations at the same time, and it is possible even to love multiple people. We all do. I love many of my friends deeply. I love my wife. I love my kids. This is part of being a mature human being. So can we have our relationship with Hillary and with Bernie? Now, there are a lot of people who are just so black and white that they'll just say, no, can't do that. It's all or nothing. Carl Jung called them judgers. Only this is the extreme of that. This isn't just a normal Jungian judger. This is like a very, very small slice of the population. It's kind of the ISIS part of the population.
You're listening to the Thom Hartmann Program. Call 202-536-2370.
Or in American politics, I'd call it kind of the Chris Hedges faction. You are either perfect or you're out of my life. That kind of thing.